Cheated on by my girlfriend and brother, I unraveled their lies and took revenge by cutting them off. Betrayal is not always loud. Sometimes, it sneaks in disguised as love and trust. I never saw it coming, not from her, and certainly not from him. My girlfriend and my brother, the two people I trusted the most, had been living a lie behind my back. And I was the fool who never suspected a thing. It started with little things. Missed calls, strange excuses, moments that did not quite add up. But love makes you blind. I ignored the signs until the truth crashed into me like a train. My girlfriend, the woman I had dreamed of marrying, and my own brother, my blood, had been betraying me for months. They thought they were clever. They thought I would never find out. But I did. And once I saw through their deception, I made sure neither of them would ever be able to hurt me again. I did not scream. I did not fight. I simply pulled the strings that unraveled their entire web of lies. And when I walked away, I left nothing but ruins behind. I had always believed that family was unbreakable and that love was built on trust. My brother, Jake, and I grew up together, facing every challenge side by side. He was the person I confided in, the one I defended through thick and thin. Despite our occasional sibling rivalries, I never doubted his loyalty. Then there was Emma, my girlfriend of 3 years. She was warm, affectionate, and supportive. At least, that was what I thought. I had imagined a future with her, picturing us settling down, building a life together. She and Jake got along well, which I saw as a blessing. I thought their friendship meant that she would always be a part of my family. Life was simple. I worked hard to provide for a future with Emma while maintaining a close bond with Jake. I never imagined that these two people, my closest confidants, would betray me in the worst way possible. Looking back, the warning signs had always been there, but I was too trusting to see them for what they were. Emma started acting differently first. Her phone was always face down. She would smile at messages but never share what was so amusing. She began making excuses to avoid spending time together, often saying she was too tired or needed space. Jake, too, became distant. He had always been the kind of brother who would crash on my couch whenever he felt like it, but suddenly he had new plans that never seemed to include me. I told myself I was overthinking. I reminded myself that they were my family, the two people who loved me the most. But doubts lingered in the back of my mind, whispering warnings I refused to acknowledge. My parents had always raised us to look out for each other. Jake and I had been inseparable since childhood. I had taken on the role of the responsible older brother, always making sure he was okay. Even when we had disagreements, I was the first to apologize. When I met Emma, Jake had been the first person to approve. He told me she was great for me, that I had finally found someone who made me happy. His support meant everything to me. Emma and Jake became friends over time, and I encouraged it. I believed it was a sign that our relationship was strong. But things changed gradually. Emma's laughter was more frequent when she was around Jake. Their inside jokes became more personal. I never thought much of it, but the way she looked at him, there was something different. I chalked it up to paranoia, blaming myself for being insecure. I wanted to believe I was imagining things. But deep down, a part of me already knew. The unease grew into suspicion. Every time I asked Emma about her recent coldness, she brushed it off with a tired sigh, saying, "I just need space." Jake, too, had been acting differently, avoiding conversations with me and dodging plans we would normally make together. One night, I decided to put my doubts to rest. I had planned a surprise dinner for Emma, hoping it would reignite the warmth we once had. But when I called her, she did not pick up. I tried again. No answer. Something inside me snapped. I had ignored my gut feeling for too long. I needed to know what was going on. I checked Emma's location on a shared app we had used in the past to meet up. It was something we both forgot to turn off, and when I saw where she was, my heart dropped. She was at Jake's apartment. My mind raced, searching for a logical explanation. Maybe she was visiting him to talk about a surprise for me? Maybe something had happened, and she needed help? I convinced myself to drive there, clinging to the last threads of denial. As I pulled up outside Jake's place, I saw Emma's car parked in the driveway. The lights in his apartment were on, and through the window, I could see two silhouettes. They were close, too close. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to move. I walked up to the door, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then I heard laughter. Emma's laugh, light, flirty, the same way she used to laugh with me. I knocked, but no one answered. I knocked again. I heard scrambling inside. The blinds moved slightly. Then, after a long pause, the door creaked open. Jake stood there, his face pale. Behind him, Emma was wrapping herself in a blanket, her hair tousled, her expression frozen in shock. Everything around me blurred. The betrayal was no longer just a suspicion. It was real, standing in front of me, undeniable. "Why are you here?" Jake stammered, his voice unnaturally high. I could not even speak. My gaze shifted to Emma, hoping for some kind of explanation, Some ridiculous excuse that would make this all go away. But she just stood there, caught, exposed. The silence stretched on before Emma finally whispered, "I was going to tell you." I let out a bitter laugh. When? After how long? She looked down and I knew the answer. It had been going on for months. Standing at Jake's doorway, I felt the weight of betrayal press against my chest, suffocating me. The two people I trusted most had shattered everything in an instant. Emma finally broke the silence. "It just happened," she whispered, eyes darting between me and the floor. "It just happened?" I repeated, my voice eerily calm despite the storm raging inside me. "What does that even mean?" Jake looked away, jaw clenched. He had always been the confident, charming one, but now he looked like a guilty child caught in a lie. I took a step inside. "How long?" Emma hesitated. "How long?" I demanded, my voice louder now. She swallowed hard. "For months." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. For months. That meant while I was planning dates, sending good morning texts, and making sure she was happy, she was sneaking around behind my back, with my own brother. I let out a bitter laugh. "So, while I was killing myself trying to fix what I thought was a rough patch, you were already gone, is that it?" Emma's eyes filled with tears, but I did not care. She did not get to cry. Not now. Jake finally spoke, voice low. "I did not mean for this to happen." I turned to him, incredulous. "You didn't mean to sleep with my girlfriend? You didn't mean to betray your own brother?" His face twisted with guilt, but I saw something else underneath, defensiveness. "You were always the favorite," Jake muttered. "You had everything. I was tired of living in your shadow." I froze, stunned. "You think this was about you being in my shadow?" My voice shook. "This was my relationship. This was my life. And you destroyed it because of some petty jealousy?" Emma finally spoke again. "We did not want to hurt you." I turned to her, my anger flaring. "Then why did you?" She opened her mouth but had no answer. I could not stand being in that apartment any longer. Without another word, I turned and walked out. Emma called after me, but I did not turn back. I drove aimlessly, my mind replaying everything, every late-night excuse, every unanswered text, every time Emma seemed distant. It all made sense now. Then an idea formed. They had taken something from me. My trust, my love, my sense of security. I could not get that back. But I could take something from them. And I would. Driving away from Jake's apartment, I could still hear Emma's voice echoing in my head. "We did not want to hurt you." As if that made a difference. As if their betrayal would sting any less. I could have screamed, could have broken something, but instead I stayed quiet. Silence was sharper than rage. It gave me clarity. I knew what I had to do. First, I cut Emma off completely. No angry texts, no long-winded messages, no closure. I blocked her on everything. Phone, social media, email. If she wanted to talk, she would be talking to herself. Then I dealt with Jake. I did not just lose a girlfriend. I lost a brother. And I refused to let him think he could walk away from this unscathed. So, I did what he feared most. I told our parents. When I showed up at their house, I did not even have to say much. My mother took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. My father sat in his usual chair, arms crossed, waiting. I did not sugarcoat it. I told them everything. How Jake had been sneaking around with Emma, how long it had been going on, how he had justified it with some ridiculous story about living in my shadow. My mother's face paled. My father's expression hardened. "You're telling me your own brother did this to you?" my father asked, his voice heavy with disappointment. I nodded. Jake had always been their problem child. He was reckless, impulsive, always chasing the next thrill. They had given him chance after chance. But this? This was different. My father stood up, jaw tight. "That boy has no respect for family." My mother, still in shock, whispered, "I do not know who raised him." Later that night, when Jake came over, expecting the usual warm welcome, he got something else entirely. My father did not let him in. He stood at the door, arms crossed, voice cold. "You betrayed your brother. And as far as I am concerned, you are no son of mine." Jake tried to explain, but my father slammed the door in his face. I watched from my car as my so-called brother stood there, stunned, before slamming his fist against the door in frustration. It was poetic. Emma, on the other hand, did not take being ignored well. A week after I cut her off, she showed up at my place, knocking on my door like nothing had happened. When I opened it, she looked at me with wide, desperate eyes. "Can we talk?" I stared at her, silent. She shifted uncomfortably. "I made a mistake." I let out a short laugh. "Yeah, you did. I miss you," she continued. I thought. She hesitated, her voice shaky. "I thought I wanted something different. But it was not worth losing you." I tilted my head. "Then why did you do it?" She opened her mouth but had no answer. I stepped back and started closing the door. "Wait." She grabbed the doorframe. Can we fix this?" I met her eyes and for the first time I saw it, fear. Not just guilt. Not just regret. She was afraid. Afraid of what she had lost. But I was not afraid. Not anymore. No, I said simply and shut the door. And just like that I was free. Some betrayals cut too deep to forgive. And sometimes, the best revenge is moving on, leaving them with nothing but the weight of their own choices. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts.